Well, Streamlabs decided to be a jerk and crash on me. So, restarted it after I got the dogs in. I don't know what the hell was that about, but thank you, Streamlabs, for the second failure of the week. Appreciate you. But good news is I think YouTube streams back up, so woo! You gotta keep watching this now. That's an ad. That's an ad right there.
A brick, but it's faster and bigger. Now, guys, I was using this thing on my invasions, and yes, there are invasions. And let me just say, man, it is hell to take one of these things down. I actually had people using their super on me and they couldn't take me down while I was inside of this thing. It has so many different attacks. It moves very good and it tanks a ton of damage. Then we have our Piker Mortar. It calls in a Piker Mortar that launches homing missiles at targets in the area. You've got a Falcon, which calls in a Falcon attack that provides both mobility and offensive support in the field. Vex Deflector, which calls in a defensive Vex Deflector dome that absorbs and reflects incoming fire. Targets who pass through the dome are damaged and jolted. I actually use this one a lot, guys. The dome is huge. Like, it is so good. And I would argue and say, if you're looking for something to actually defend against...
I'm like wondering now, like, are these only usable in like certain modes though, or like they kind of throughout?
Against invaders, I think nothing works better than the dome. Then we have the Vex Stun Field. This creates a Vex-derived field that stuns targets within the radius of attack. Now, Bungie's also allowing for these vehicles like the Falcon and the Behemoth to be customized further. The base Falcon says that it has incredible top speed and a heavy mounted heat weapon, which can be fired while in motion. The Falcon can cause high collision damage when traveling at high speeds. There's also a strand version where dodging launches a large strand projectile that can...
That's too funny. The crazy thing is they look like masks. It's just wild.
Tie up Imperium behemoths. And then there's a stasis version, which is outfitted with experimental stasis weaponry that can freeze targets. It has unlimited boost to allow you to smash through any frozen targets, and it can spawn its own stasis crystals using its secondary fire. I really like this, guys, because it doesn't just end with unlocking some of these unlocks. As it goes further than that, you have deeper customization just beyond that. And I don't know what I was really expecting from this, but it came out much better than what I originally thought. I guess my expectations were low. I was expecting it to be like very bare bone. I was also expecting like at any point Bungie's gonna be like, hey, you want to turn into a ball? Luckily, that didn't happen. And these are actually abilities that I would relate them to on the level as like a Helldiver ability. Now, when starting out, you'll only have access to Revitalize and Strafing Run, but you'll unlock more as you progress. And these abilities can also be upgraded from Spider or from the Quartermasters in each Syndicate Den, which seems to go up to level 7. So again, emphasis on joining those syndicates, pledging to them. And let me just say, this is not really a spoiler, but lots of backstabbing. Now, there's a few mechanics to be aware when it comes to this activity. First off, there's 3 different types of this activity. You have hunts, where you'll need to hunt a notorious outlaw and secure their bounty. There's smuggle, where you'll need to smuggle contraband from the activity. And then there's also sabotage, where you'll need to sabotage hostile assets. Now, all 3 versions of the activity play relatively the same, with maybe just some minor objective changes throughout. Secondly, it's kind of similar to the Nether from Heresy, as health recovery is disabled, and instead, you do have significantly greater health and shields. There's also destructibles that you can break, which can provide credits and may occasionally drop healing orbs, along with ammo or even revive tokens. Now, throughout the activity, you're going to have various objectives to complete as you move through different areas. But this differs from the Nether, as you aren't necessarily earning enough points to progress. There aren't these long traversal sections, and overall, the activity isn't anywhere as long as, say, something like the Nether. At least, Not this version. Again, we're playing the early version of this. I don't know how things are going to evolve over the weeks to come. Instead, though, you usually have one objective per area, with sometimes a bonus objective popping up as well, but it is way more ad dense. So unlike the Nether, which wasn't as ad dense, you have like downtime in between encounters. This one is like go, go, go. I mean, they're really trying to drive the horde mode aspects of this game mode. Now, let me just give you some of the examples.
I mean, I was a huge Guild of War
There's one objective where you need to pick up and carry these cargo crates and then deposit them. And then while carrying the cargo crates, you can still use your weapons, but your movement is slowed. There's also another where killing enemies would drop cargo in the form of these exotic looking ingrams, which you'll need to grab and then deposit. There's also some variations of this where these deposit zones would become shielded and would need to shoot the generators above them to remove the shield. There was also another variation where you had to place this drill, defeat enemies to get conductive charge, which could be used to charge the drill, which would then spawn the cargo to be deposited. Now listen, I can go on and on about the different objectives. What I will say is that it's fun. Like, they're actually good, and you want to lean into those renegade abilities. There were times where I was like, you know what, screw everything I'm dealing with. I'm dropping in a behemoth. I'm about to start blasting. I think the ad density is also really good, and I would say you could probably relate this activity more so to like onslaught, right? With that ad density, not as stationary, as you are still moving around more than like, hey, defend this ADU. But I will say the ad density is up there with onslaught. Now, I think Bungie did a really good job with balancing these renegade abilities, considering just how strong they are. They have limited charges, some of them having just one charge and others having multiple charge. Now, throughout the activity, you will find these chests that you can interact with, which can refill one spent charge of your equipped renegade's ability. Now, towards the end of the activity, after completing all of your objectives, you'll need to call in your exfil and then essentially defend the point until the Hawk arrives, which you can board the ship, and the first person to do so can actually fire the Hawk's autocannons. Now, there's actually a few different exfil scenarios that I encountered. Sometimes it was just waiting the time until it arrived and defending the zone. Other times it was capturing the zone, which would load cargo onto the ship before it was allowed to exfil. Another was where I had to kill a boss first, then head to the exfil, and then defeat retaliators before I could leave. Think of this as like Extraction Light, right? Like your little intro into what you're going to be experiencing later on, potentially in Marathon. Now, there was also another variation that I saw, which takes place in contested territory and says to complete priority contracts in this contested area to fortify it for your ally syndicate in the future. Now, this takes us to the activity that I had the most fun with. Invasion. See, invasion is like the new Gambit mode, if you will. To be able to launch this activity, you need death marks, which is a currency that you can earn from jobs with invasion enabled. Thankfully, for those out there that don't want to engage with PvP at all, invasion is not a requirement, but this is likely where you're going to get the best rewards. And at least from looking at the customization screen for Lawless Frontier, Master, and Grandmaster Matchmade were set as invadable, whereas Expert was not. Now, when you do invade, you do have the chance to equip your renegade abilities before heading through the invasion portal. And when you go in, you're going to have roughly 6 minutes to complete your objective. The only thing you have to worry about when invading is defeating opposing guardians and collecting their crests. So you'll see these 6 boxes on your screen that will fill up with each kill / crest that you collect. So ideally, you really only need like 3 kills and 3 crests. However, you are limited to 6 minutes, and you're also limited to 4 revives. But let me just be clear, guys. If you're rocking the behemoth, you'll get those kills no problem. Matter of fact, I'm really curious to know how invasion is going to look over the long haul, because there were many times that I invaded, I brought my behemoth, and man, I just cleaned house. And you actually end up in a situation where the invasions go very quickly because of how quickly you wipe the other team. And one of the things I actually brought up to Bungie was, hey, could you guys make it require more crests, maybe even more kills, maybe require 6 kills instead of just 3 kills and 3 crests? Again, we'll see how this shakes out for everybody else. I felt like it was really not that hard, considering the renegade abilities. I think what's going to be interesting to see over the long haul is how people counter each other out with renegade abilities. Like, you may be in a situation where you're like, all right, he's got a behemoth. I'm going to drop my dome. I'm going to spawn my behemoth. Or maybe you drop your dome and then that guy in the behemoth pushes your dome, but then you drop a cabal pod on his behemoth. And yes, you could do that. It requires some levels of logistic, but you could definitely pull that off. Now this takes us to why you're doing all of.
I'm trying to figure out, like, is Invasion completely separate from Gambit? Or is it just a very similar Gambit style? Because, like, I don't know if that was clear. Maybe he did say it. I don't know. I'm eating chips.
This. And that's actually because of the syndicates. These factions are split into three. You've got your Pikers, your Totality Division, and your Tharsis Reformation. Now, you can choose one syndicate at a time to be allied with, which you can change by interacting with these banners and their specific sections of the Cantina. Now, through these factions, you'll meet each head. For example, I spent some time working on ranking up the Totality Division, where the head of the faction is Enforcer Rao, or Ro, one of those. Now, there's a vendor for each faction known as the Quartermaster, which for Totality Division was Armorer Agol. Here, there was a reputation track showing for the rank 2 reward that you can purchase the modified B7 pistol and a Praxic Blade crystal through this faction. It also said that the Totality Division would share their access codes, allowing access to some locked areas in the Lawless Frontier. There's also a shader at rank 5 that you can acquire, and toward the bottom, there was also Totality shipments that you can earn. I hovered over each one of these, which was a small Totality shipment, which you can earn once a week by completing priority contracts. Now, you rank up these factions by contributing dark matter ingots to their war chests and by completing jobs for the syndicates. Now, when you're on the Lawless Frontier screen, you can actually access your contracts and wallets on the left-hand side of the HUD. Contracts are essentially bounties for renegades. An example of one right here is for Totality Division. It says to complete and refill from bounty hunt or sabotage jobs, and you need to complete 2 of these. The rewards for completing these type of bounties include 4 dark matter ingots, 200 credits, and 160 faction reputation. There's also priority contracts. This one right here is for Totality Division, and it says to complete jobs in exfil from jobs in Piker or Tharsis Reformation territory, and you'll need to complete 2 jobs. Now, the rewards for completing these include 10 dark matter ingots, 1,000 credits, and 320 faction reputation. So again, these priority contracts are definitely worth doing. Now, there's one more type of contract, and that is invasion contracts. This one right here is a daily invasion contract, which says as an invader, score points by defeating opposing guardians and collecting their crests. Invasion points obtained 0 out of 7. Now, the rewards for this one includes Lawless Frontier gear, which said it was going to be between tiers 3 and 4. 3 death marks, allowing you to do more invasions, along with 10 dark matter ingots. Now, the other section of the screen is going to be for your wallet, showing various currencies that you own. You got your credits, salvage, which can be exchanged for weapons and armor in Tharsis Bazaar. Then there's also sections for key cards obtained from the factions, as well as your invasion death marks. Overall, guys, I really liked this gameplay loop, and I also really liked invasions. I was concerned, considering how Gambit has gone over the years, that people would hate this. But I think that because the emphasis is on renegade abilities, even though, yes, you can go in with your subclass, you go in with your super hell, you can pop your Goldie and just go in and clean house. But these renegade abilities really mix things up. And coming from Edge of Fate, where those abilities really fell flat for me, these abilities are so much fun that you're going to want to use them outside of these activities. And I
have no idea what abilities came in through Edge of Fate, to be honest. I think the last thing I remember is like the strings, like the green strings or whatever.
We could. Like, no lie, I would drop a behemoth in the middle of a raid. The fact that the abilities are this fun to use in comparison to Edge of Fate, which, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anyone would actually voluntarily use Matter Spark. You know, some of you really like the ball play. These are for real good abilities, man. I mean, they are good enough to just be standalone things. And I really like that Bungie is like interwoven, you know, the tutorials on using these different abilities, these different renegade abilities within the campaign itself. They're not just dropping you in and overwhelming you. There's a good build-up process that happens here throughout the campaign missions that's also giving you little bits of story here and there, and then throws you into the activity with what you learn from the campaign. And what's even better than that is that while you're in these different activities, invasions, and whatever else, you're also getting pieces of the story thrown back to you. And a lot of it is just like in dialogue. but it actually will change things up as you go on, because you'll notice that no one really can be trusted. Everybody's kind of backstabbing everybody, and Spider hates to lose money, like hates it. It's the worst thing that can happen. So I love that that's his motivation, and yeah, you have an opportunity there to help him out if you want. Now listen, I know some of you just want to know about the weapons and the armor, and I'm going to briefly talk about these things, but I will say we're gonna have,
I gotta say, I fucking love my girlfriend so much. She's like, Toka's like, do you want a smoothie? It's on my way. It's on my way home. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds fucking amazing. Like, I mean, I just had like a handful of chips. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to eat, but I don't really want to not eat. And I'm like, oh, sounds perfect. I'm like, give me the one that I always get with the magnesium. Magnesium. Alright, cool. I'm gonna leave her. She Discorded me too. It was like, I was always like, I'm like, I will 9 times out of 10 see a Discord message before a text message during stream. So I was like 10 minutes late to that though.
deeper dives on every single one of them. What I can tell you right out the gate is, number one, the lightsaber, aka the Praxic blade, is
Okay, so it's not called a lightsaber. What, like, why can't we call it a lightsaber if it's like a true crossover?
phenomenal. I cannot express just how fun it was using this thing. It is so good, and I think it's going to be especially good for hunters with the new exotic. I also think that it is
I used to be a
arguably the
huge hunter
best
player.
on Titan with strongholds, as you can essentially just sit there and block forever and ever. It has so many customizable aspects to the weapon. More customization is present on this sword than any other craftable exotic.
I imagine this guy plays on PC. I used to watch some of his content back in the day, but I wonder if he is PC or not, because I don't remember if the controller, because I played on PlayStation for so long and then a little on Xbox, but
We have ever been given. And unfortunately, a lot of that I can't even go into detail about, because yes, it does drop from the exotic mission and we can't show any of that. So yeah, we got to play it, but we were not able to show it. But the sword itself, the Praxic blade, very, very good, guys. You're going to like it a lot. As far as the other exotics go, I was a big fan of all three. I will say the Titan exotic is more for maneuverability. And again, we're going to jump into the deep dives on that in our review, but the maneuverability for it is really the thing that takes the cake. A lot of people are making comparisons to this in Twilight Garrison. Twilight Garrison, you had those dodges, right? You can, when it first came out, you had the double dodge. So you can double dodge, you can use it to help you in your skating. It's very, very good for maintaining momentum and building up momentum. But again, they eventually nerfed that. And when they nerfed that, you can only have the one dodge. I would say this exotic, although people are going to figure out ways to like help with things like skating or building up momentum, the main takeaway for it is you can literally just fly. Like, it's an exotic that allows you to fly. If you're doing a jump
I want to fly. That sounds cool as shit.
puzzle, I would say there is no better exotic to use than that exotic.
Wait. What did you say?
Momentum and building up momentum. But again, they eventually nerfed that. And when they nerfed that, you can only have the one dodge. I would say this exotic, although people are going to figure out ways to like help with things like skating or building up momentum, the main takeaway for it is you can literally just fly. Like, it's an exotic that allows you to fly. If you're doing a jump puzzle, I would say there is no better exotic to use than that exotic, especially if you're just terrible at jump puzzles. So
That's me. This man just pointed me out.
for me, it's a godsend. For the harder exotic, I think it's low-key going to be an S-tier exotic. I think it's so good for survivability. The free damage buff that it gives is very, very good. And for the Warlock exotic, I think there's a lot of play with it because it works with every strand ability. And with the changes there to rifts, you're going to be using this exotic for strand synergies, for the damage over time, and anything that is suspend based, because that suspend from any source, at least from my testing, procs that damage over time and also procs that healing. As far as the other weapons, there's just so many, man. The heat weapons, I will say, feel phenomenal. I played with the hand cannon that's got the scope on it and was doing some invasions with it. It hits very, very hard, and I think you guys are going to like it a lot. Heat weapons across the board, I think, are very, very solid, and we're actually going to be doing reviews for some of these individually. because yes, you probably see some of the gameplay here in front of you. This is essentially a legendary sweep business. It's phenomenal. I was procking bolt charge stacks like mad. And yes, we will probably be individually reviewing this one as the days go on. Guys, we have a number of videos lined up over probably the next few hours into the next few days. That's going to be showcasing, a lot of what Renegades has to offer. I'm going to continue to avoid story spoilers simply because I don't want much of the story spoiled for myself. Again, I will say based on what I experience in the story, I think that is probably the strongest aspect to Renegades. Now, this also circles back to what people are hoping from Renegades, which is to address all of the core issues within Destiny.
This is something I'm interested to hear because like I don't know about like the most current issues, but like maybe they've changed some stuff that I knew about.
Loot being a big one, old content not being added to the portal, vault issues, vault constraints. I would say the vault constraint thing, that's actually been taken care of, and we actually got to take a look at it, and it's very, very nice, guys. You will have the ability to pretty much utilize your in-game vaults. Maybe not as good as Destiny Item Manager, but for console players, this is very nice. The ability to filter through all these different options, to have the individual pages that you can choose in between. I actually found myself, even after just a few minutes with it, like I was like, okay, I can see myself, if I didn't want to pull up dim right there in the spots, legitimately utilizing this vault feature as my feature going forward when it comes to pulling gear and putting gear up. The other side of things is the increase in space. The plus 300 there in space is very, very helpful. Granted, we're gonna blow through that. I mean, look at all the new weapons that you have here. This thumbnail right here, which shows all the weapons that we're gonna be getting in Renegades. You're gonna be getting multiple rolls of this, and that's not even getting multiple rolls of this, and that's not even.
Do see a few hand cannons. Looks like some snipers, some grenade launchers. I'm sure they have a little bit of everything, but I'm just like, okay.
Including all the different armor pieces that you're going to be getting. So this is still a band-aid fix for me, the plus 300 to our vault. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to fill this up, probably fairly quickly, but eventually Bungie's going to have to figure out something here, maybe in the way we are able to stack our loot. Maybe they extend weapon crafting to armor crafting or something like that, because right now our vaults are becoming very bloated with a lot of different armor pieces and a lot of different weapons. As far as the core problems go and the issues with the portal itself, I mean, Bungie's doing some consolidation across the board, but they are still investing into the portal, most notably with the new 6-man activity portal playlist. Yes, there's actually an activity playlist that is completely devoted to 6-man activities. And I think this is when I get a bit excited about it, because when you think about things like Menagerie, Bungie's not going to bring back the entirety of Menagerie the way that we experienced it back in the day.
I remember Menagerie. That was fun. It was like a 6-stage, like, or whatever stage, like, dungeony thing.
And dropping it on us because, well, quite frankly, the loot that dropped from that version of Menagerie wouldn't make sense. It would need an overhaul, but also the enemies themselves would need an overhaul. Like, we are very, very strong now. And I mean, you've seen the different blog posts that have gone out over the past week. We would blow through something like Menagerie, especially with the 6-man fire team. With that being said, though, I could see a portal version of the Menagerie existing. And I think what you're going to see is that the portal will become what we always wanted it to be, which was a way to cycle in old content, old fan favorites, whether that be raid layers, whether that be old 6-man activities, whether that be like a sundial or a Menagerie, and it actually be things that we're excited to see, rather than it being, hey, we're taking away things that exist in the game currently and forcing them into the portal. There's got to be a better system in which the destination tab and the portal will work harmoniously together. And I actually think they're approaching that. Will we nail that in Renegades? I'm not sure. We'll have to see, guys. I hope they will, though, because I think that those two worlds need to exist together. It can't just be portal or nothing else. Those two things have to go hand in hand. And yes, there is, even though everybody wants to throw the portal out, there is value there in the portal. As far as the loot goes, tiered loot, we've talked about this a lot. Man, I think everybody's just going to be getting tier 5s day one. And this is where we didn't really talk about this at Bungie because everybody's focused on the new content and some other external things. But as far as tiered loot goes, I'm pretty sure people are going to be able to earn tier 5s very, very quickly. And I don't know the solution forward on that. Some of you are going to be like, hell yeah, give me my tier 5s. But I know there is a portion of the Destiny community that's saying, hey, listen, where is the aspirational grind? Where is the aspirational loot? Where's the, I gotta go flawless to get that item. I've got to beat that GM Nightfall to get that adept. I'm not really sure how Renegades is going to address that. I'm actually hoping that, again, I'm recording this video the day before the Vidoc goes live. I'm hoping the Vidoc may actually shed some light on this, or even the TWAB this coming week also shed some light on that. These are core issues that I don't know if Renegades is going to be able to address. Granted, a lot of what this video is just how Renegade stands on its own two legs. And I think it's a strong expansion, guys. Substantially stronger than Edge of Fate, by the way. Like, when I say a strong expansion, it's way better than Edge of Fate in a multitude of ways. But is it on the level of like Forsaken or Witch Queen? That's something we just won't know until we get in there. This is a Star Wars inspired Destiny expansion, but it is truly a Destiny expansion still. I've been extremely impressed from the delivery, from the narrative team, from the cast of voice actors to the music. Hell, we got Michael Salvatore back in the studio again. This is looking to be quite the experience for all of us. Will this address those core problems? Only time will tell. And that's something that Bungie is going to have to talk to us about sooner rather than later. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, we'll have lineups for all the different reviews coming out for the exotics and the armor pieces for those that want more depth. As far as what I think about Renegades, again, these were my thoughts, man. I enjoyed it. I thought the narrative was very, very strong. I liked, you know, the different activities. I liked invasions, surprisingly. I wouldn't say it's the Gambit replacement because I actually think Gambit could really use an entire overhaul or rework.
I kind of liked Gambit, funny enough. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like. I mean, I didn't like it, like love it, but I didn't hate it. I liked it. It was fun. I mean, I thought the PvE PvP cross functionality was kind of cool.
Or hell, potentially even the Gambit mode from Destiny Rising just being thrown in, and you saw that from the polls that Bungie sent out. Bungie actually sent out polls asking people about Gambit, but this invasion stuff, like this is not Gambit 2.0. It's its own standalone thing, and you could tell by just the Renegade abilities. So guys, hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye everybody.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
It's very interesting to see like how it's come along in the last couple of years, especially with all the issues that it seemed to have had with was it not Final Shape, it was the other one, or no, it was it was the other. Yeah, Final Shape was the one that was like kind of shit, but I didn't play it. One sec, I gotta plug my camera in, or my phone camera in. Alrighty. But definitely, yeah, as to Cross, he's gotten bigger, it seems like. I used to watch him like every once in a while back when the day, like when I was really like playing Destiny. Let's check him out real quick. Oh, he's definitely live, but that's cool. The good old days. Yeah. Remember that. Oh, nice. But no Christmas trees. Oh. Like, sucks they didn't have anything you like, though. Drive safe, baby girl. Alrighty. Let me see. Gear buffs, nerfs, the good old days. New and returning renegades weapons. Let's see. This has to work. Actually, you know what? I want to check that out because he's probably talking about
Guys, we have a new trailer here. Destiny 2 Renegades cinematic trailer. Very Star Wars, very Star Wars.
Show me. Let me see
Obviously, Drifter right here. Okay.
how you see.
Let me see how you see. Is that what he said? Dude, man.
I see hope, shrouded in the dark. I see the seeds of extinction, adamant, undeniable. I see my shadow, a pretender.
Oh, she's like, "Do you want oat milk ice cream?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Oh, we can definitely check some out online together. Yes, please. On oat milk. Hell yeah.
And me, your weapon, your dredge.
It is so cool how it's like very. Like,
All right. That's Treasure
What's his
Bell,
face?
of course. The bad guy for this next expansion. This right here, like just listening to the music and the sounds and everything, this feels like the most Star Wars about this next expansion more than anything, right? The Cabal clone troopers, if you will, and then of course the lightsaber noises and everything. But you know, I'm actually really curious if this ends up being like a true success, like if this works in Bungie's favor and it turns out themed collaborations, and like I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but if it turns out this has been, you know, a very good expansion, the numbers are good, what other themes would we ever want? Like Fortnite? I definitely wouldn't want it to become a regular thing, but I'm just throwing it out here because this.
Yeah, there's a thing to say about collaborative stuff. Magic went a little overboard with that shit too. So
This may bang. It may bang. No, just keep doing Star Wars. I think we're going too sci-fi with it, guys. I know Star Wars is sci-fi and Destiny sci-fi. Why not a Witcher collab? And I know we've got the armor sets. In some way, you can even say like there's inspiration from Warlord's Ruin from Witcher. Totally different worlds. When you say totally different worlds, what does Dreaming City feel like to you? What does Warlord's Ruin feel like to you? I would fuck with like a Dark Soul collab, a Souls-like crossover. I feel like Destiny.
oh, like, I don't know. I know it's a little too on the nose, but Star Trek is not as pew pew as Star Wars, but Star Trek.
Destiny is at its best. Yes, we have the sci-fi elements, but the fantasy elements, man, more fantasy thrown in there. There's a reason why people love places like the Dreaming City. How about just be original? Again, this is not what I want to become the norm. I don't want it to become like Fortnite, where it's like every expansion we get is a new collab that's themed here. And Star Wars is a really big deal. It really is, man. They got a lot of money, a lot of backing there. And you can see even the parallels with their own characters and Star Wars characters that well, Bungie's been able to make it work so far. Hopefully that delivery carries on when we play the campaign tomorrow. But I don't ever want these type of themed expansions to become a regular thing. But I can't help but just think about a world in which we could blend some stuff that would be cool to see. A Lord of the Rings collab. Now,
Ooh, yeah.
Lord
Lord of the Rings collab would be dope.
Holy shit! That would be good. Hold up. That would be good. A Lord of the Rings collab would absolutely pop. Keep it sci-fi? Calm the f down. You can keep it sci-fi and have Lord of the Rings. Hold up. Thematically speaking, what is the #1 dungeon in the game? Warlord's Ruin. Exactly. What I'm saying is there's a way to make these two things work. Blend the fantasy into the sci-fi. Nope, I'm not having Lord of the Rings ruined by Bungie Get Lost. Have you seen the Lord of the Rings show? Look, I love the movies. That's Amazon's fault. But what does Lord of the Rings and Star Wars have in common? Great franchises that we grew up on with. Lots of nostalgia. Wonderful universes. And have essentially gone to shit in the past decade. So the point is,
This is true. This is true.
perfect to merge itself with Destiny. Look, again, we're all sitting there speculating and throwing out our wants and desires. At the end of the day, if this expansion isn't good, none of this matters. We'll never see it happen ever again. This right here could potentially set the stage for maybe other themes, expansions, collaborations. But if this one ain't good, it doesn't even matter. The question is this going to be good? Is this going to bang? You tell us. Well, based on my time playing, I thought the weapons were really, really good. I thought Lawless Frontiers of very good activity. And the like one mission and a half that I played, I thought it was very solid. But let me also bring this up. If you would have shown me Strand back in Lightfall, like if you would have let me play it
Yeah, Strand was what it was called, and it was Lightfall. Okay. That's what it was called.
early and said, hey, here's Strand, and then showed me the weapons, and then showed me the first mission of Lightfall, what would I have said? I would have been like, wow, Lightfall is looking pretty good. You cannot judge a campaign experience without playing the campaign, because at any moment, you could kill Rohan with literally no explanation and then talk about the radio mass and the veil like everyone's supposed to know what the fuck it is. If you would have just even played the first couple missions of Lightfall, you would have been like, wow, this is shaping up to be pretty good. It's only about halfway through the campaign where that shit takes a hard right. Is this the Forsaken moment after Curse of Osiris, Edge of Fates? No, I don't think it's the Forsaken moment.
Forsaken was so good.
Forsaken moments, brother. You realize what you're saying. Like, that's the foundation that Forsaken built. That's really what carried Destiny too. For all those years, all the way into Final Shape, it was Forsaken. The sheer amount of content that we got in the Forsaken era is unmatched. I mean, it was one thing after another, dude. It was, hey, here's a new game mode, Gambit. Boom. Here's one of the greatest raids ever. Boom. Black Armory with another raid. Boom. Forges. Boom. Season of the Gambits. They tried. They really did try. I mean, let's just give it. But they were reckoning. You know what I mean? And then Menagerie, Season of Opulence. But you know.
Oh yeah, Season of Opulence.
Kane's
Yeah.
dead. Yeah, that was. I mean, yeah, Vicarious Visions. Yeah, Bungie. High Noon was around, I think. And keep in mind, we had a different game back then. Back then, exotics were not. Do your season pass. You get an exotic. Go do the legendary campaign. Here's your exotic. Back then, it was just good luck. And the exotics were so good that when you knew on the other team if that Titan had a one-eye mess. Why? Because he could quite literally 1v6 your team. And then the other side of things is that was when we had pinnacles. Bungie had balls then. They were like, listen, you want Luna's How? Got to get that rank up. You want Not Forgotten? You got to max that rank. They don't do that no more. No. Well, they lost those balls pretty quickly, even with that release. Yes, a year after that release is when they changed up pinnacles and they moved it to rituals. I don't know. Shit was lit when exotics weren't guaranteed. You get something new, and it felt like winning the lottery.
I will say exotics. I played Destiny 1 almost throughout without a Galahorn. It was rough, but I did it.
That it did, man. That it did. Because you fuckers would always come by in the streams or whatever else and be like, hey, Cross, I just got one-eye mask or wave splitter or whatever else. And yes, I had to pretend to be happy for you. But that meant something, fellas. It meant something. Because I would be like, damn, brother. I wish I got that. And I'd go back to farming. Anyways, I hope Renegade's going to be good, guys. I think, narratively, I think it's going to be pretty strong. I have a lot of faith in Allison and her team. We'll see what shakes out. I hope Dredgen Bell continues to be a good bad guy. We need a good bad guy. And we'll know, man. We'll know. It's Bell, not Bell. That's what I fucking said. It's Bell. What are you saying? That's what I fucking said. Bell. B-A-E-L. There's Dredgen Bell, and then there's ringing a bell. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Do you not understand the words coming out of my mouth right now? Christian Bell. You're saying the same thing? You obviously are not understand. No, I'm not saying the same fucking thing. Oh my God. Kristen Bell. B-L-L.
Kristen
Jingle
Bell.
Bells. Dredgen Bell. Do you not fucking hear it? I'm literally sounding it out.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
Nice. I don't know. I'm like really intrigued.
I'm gonna spend an entire weekend making the goddamn epic raid guide, and it's gonna get like 6,000 views. I'm gonna spend an entire weekend.
They added Mandalorian to Destiny 2, including Bo-Katan and Boba Fett. The new sets that you can buy for silver are going to be Mandalorian, Bo-Katan, and Boba Fett, and they're looking extremely good, especially the Mandalorian.
It's kind of wild. I mean, it'd be cool if you could get like certain, like maybe like one of these sets in game, not for silver, but yeah.
Kind of taken back by this because I really didn't think it was going to be that much of a collaboration with Disney or with Lucasfilms, but this is pretty impressive. Here are the exotic armor and weapon ornaments that have arrived with Destiny 2's Renegades.
Auspicious pickle.
Guardian. Renegades is dropping tomorrow, and there's one brand new feature I'm so excited to try. No, not the lightsaber, but that is exciting. I know it's lame, but I'm excited to finally use my ships in combat. Am I the only one who wants more ship customizations? What's your favorite ship and shader combo? I'll be bringing Zer's Rock and the Pyramid ship with me, just in case everyone has the X-Wing on. Guardian. Renegades Guardian. The first Star Wars game I played was Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on the Nintendo 64, the original Sparrow races. When I was a child, this was the pinnacle of gaming. What was your first Star Wars?
One of the biggest questions that is buzzing around every current, possibly returning, and potentially new Destiny players' minds right now is Renegades worth playing? Thanks to the fact that Bungie gave me the opportunity to come out to their HQ to play it early, I am somewhat well equipped to answer that question for you. But don't worry, that doesn't mean that this video is going to be pulling any punches. This is the honest to goodness truth about the quality and value of Renegades. In this video, we are going to talk about all of the new gear arriving with Renegades, its campaign without any story spoilers, its new activities, all of the overall game improvements arriving alongside or shortly after its launch, and unfortunately, the things that are missing. Renegades is a $40 expansion and the first ever official collaboration expansion inspired by another existing universe, Star Wars. Alongside Renegades comes a minimum of 36 brand new and returning weapons, 3 of which are exotic weapons, 3 brand new exotic armor pieces, 1 for each class, and a minimum of 6 brand new legendary armor sets and accompanying set bonuses. It's worth noting that I say minimum in certain areas as I was not allowed to see, capture, or talk about everything Renegades is bringing with it. So these numbers are simply the number of new pieces of gear that I was able to have access to. Most notable of these new weapons is the Praxic Blade exotic sword inspired by the Star Wars lightsaber, the Wookiee bowcaster inspired exotic special ammo crossbow, and the brand new blaster class of weapons that utilize a venting system over a traditional magazine reload, similar to the third iteration exotic scout rifle that we received from the Edge of Fate Season Pass. If you want to see full video breakdowns detailing all of the new weapons and armor that I was able to try, you can find both of those videos linked in the description below. But the short and sweet of it is that these weapons are absolutely sick and feel incredible without feeling like too far of a departure from Destiny's unique design. Next is the campaign, which again I will not be providing any story spoilers for whatsoever in this video. From a gameplay perspective, it feels much more akin to a more traditional Destiny campaign experience, as opposed to the more puzzle-centric Edge of Fate campaign that left
Fucking hate puzzles, glad to hear that.
A lot of players feeling rather underwhelmed and frustrated. The Renegades campaign experiences focus much more on a more linear and straightforward campaign experience, consisting of typical objectives, simple area-to-area progression, and just frying a whole bunch of enemies. As far as narrative, environments, and tone goes, I know that there is a rather large concern amongst the overall Destiny community that this expansion and the campaign by proxy is going to be a direct copy copy and paste and or rip off directly from Star Wars. Without spoiling anything, I can say that the story beats that I experienced did feel uniquely Destiny. Don't get me wrong, there are absolutely Star Wars inspired environments and characters. Tharsis Outpost is
I think
very
it should feel
clearly
like it's
inspired by
like in
Mos
the
Eisley
world,
Cantina.
you know, not like the world.
Dredge and Bale is clearly inspired by Sith Lords, the Baron Imperium Cabal faction is very clearly inspired by the Galactic Empire, and many tile sets are clearly inspired by Star Wars locations like the Death Star, Dagobah, Hoth, and Tatooine. But none of them feel like one-to-one Star Wars ripoffs in my personal opinion. These characters and locations still feel very Destiny in the way that we have all come to know and love over the years. If you like Star Wars, I think you'll appreciate the nods to it that range from subtle to rather obvious, and if you hate Star Wars, I reckon you'll be able to see past them unless you are intentionally looking for them. Aside from the Praxic Blade inspired lightsaber at least, that's tough to decouple from Star Wars, but
I mean,
hey,
there's already
what you
swords
gonna do?
in
Now,
Destiny,
there are
so
no brand new destinations in Renegades, similar to how we got things like the Pale Heart in the Final Shape, or Neomuna in Lightfall, and so on and so forth. However, the reimagined environments for Mars, Venus, and Europa do feel rather unique and enjoyable. Europa is built to feel like an Imperial-controlled Hoth with lots of fortified structures and snow-ridden buildings. Venus feels like a swampy and leafy Dagobah with cave systems and lots of greenery, and Mars would honestly be the location that I would say feels the most like the already existing
Tatooine.
Mars. But even so, I still had fun on the tile sets of it that I played. The real winner of the environments competition, however, is the Death Star inspired tile set. I am unsure how much content utilizes it. I actually only played one mission that did while I was at the capture event, but it's pretty spectacular and I hope we get to see it a whole lot more. The final new destination / environment is the Tharsis Outpost social space, where you'll be able to pledge to one of 3 syndicates that will determine what types of contracts you can do and provide unique rewards for ranking each of them up. These syndicates include the Pikers, the Totality Division, and the Tharsis Reformation. I unfortunately didn't get too much time to deeply explore these rank up systems and what rewards specifically you get for pledging to each one, but I do hope that these syndicates are compelling and interesting enough to make players pledge their allegiance to them the same way that we did back in the faction war days. The brand new premier replayable activity is Lawless Frontiers, an extraction mode in Bungie's words that has you do various objectives and obtain various loot caches that you can then extract with to open up for loot after completing everything. What's neat about this activity is that it utilizes the new Renegade abilities, which, if I can summarize, are basically an on-demand and significantly upgraded version of the Edge of Fate abilities. The problem with the Edge of Fate abilities is that you had to run around the map to find some station to activate an ability that honestly just wasn't all that interesting compared to a lot of the stuff that we can already do in Destiny. I mean, when you can sling Nova Bombs on demand, it makes turning into a ball not really that big of a deal. But with the Renegade abilities, you can do things like summon Cabal walkers, call in ammo drops, direct an airstrike, and so on and so forth. Needless to say, these are much more impactful to combat and much more enjoyable to use than anything that we got in the Edge of Fate, and again, you can simply pull them out on demand like you would a grenade or melee ability, instead of having to run around to find a station to activate them from. From a difficulty and enemy density perspective, this activity was actually really enjoyable, especially on harder modes, with my favorite part of it being the final stage where you call in the extraction ship and have to defend against endless hordes of enemies until the ship arrives. It gets to the point where you have dozens of mini-boss level targets right in your face, all beaming you as the ship is 5 seconds away, and you have to make the call between hiding or fending them off or ping-ponging between those two options just to survive in any way possible as the ship finally arrives. Another interesting thing about the Lawless Frontiers activity is that there is a higher stakes mode that allows for opposing guardians to queue up solo to invade your fire team while you are trying to complete a Lawless Frontier. Don't worry, this mode is completely optional and opt-in only, so if that sounds horrible to you, then you don't have to deal with it at all, but the dynamic it creates and the extra thought it makes you put into your build crafting and Renegade ability selections is genuinely pretty cool. My one gripe with this mode that I informed the devs of is that I didn't feel that queuing up for an invadable instance of Lawless Frontiers was nearly rewarding enough for the team of 3, and that most teams will simply opt to run the non-invadable version instead, as it was my understanding at the time that the only real thing that you got for doing the invadable mode that you could not get from the non-invadable mode was a currency that allowed you to queue as an invader in addition to a few extra pieces of loot. The problem is that as the team of 3 trying to complete the objectives and extract, you feel nothing but annoyance when you see that you have been invaded. There is no reason to try and hunt down the invader other than to just make it so they stop messing with you, but on higher difficulties that is extremely annoying and not nearly worth the extra stress and effort for a few extra tier 5 guns, which the game already showers you with anyway. My recommendation to them was to make it so that killing an invader drops a loot cache that grants unique rewards like the blasters with a unique origin trait that can only drop from invaders, or the possibility to get a hollow foil variant of blasters that again can only come from that invader loot cache. Doing so would then hopefully turn the reaction when getting invaded from ugh, great, there's an invader we have to deal with, into go find the invader, go find him and take his loot cache, let's go! Overall, I think the Lawless Frontier activity, though, has really good bones and a lot of replay value. It just needs to make sure to have the loot and reward structures to support that replayability. Also coming with Renegades is a brand new dungeon named Equilibrium, although to the surprise of probably no one, we were not allowed to see, try, or capture absolutely anything whatsoever about the dungeon. All of that will be experienced for the first time by everyone, myself included, on its release on December 13th. Generally speaking though, the raid and dungeon team always knocks it out of the park, so I would honestly expect nothing but a great experience at minimum from this activity. Renegades is also bringing a lot of updates to core game systems along with it that, whilst they aren't technically a part of the $40 price tag, given that they are free updates, I still feel that they are worth a quick mention. First up is the vault improvements, which sport a 300 slot increase to our vaults for a total of 1,000 spaces in conjunction with a whole lot of sorting and filtering features. This should hopefully alleviate the burden of storing a bunch of different archetypes of tier 5 armor and all of your tier 5 weapon god rules, while also making it easier to sort through and find anything that you are looking for. Another new addition is the orders system, which seems to be an attempt to replace and streamline both the weekly reward track alongside the bounty system. The gist I got from it is that
I actually know about that. That's cool. Because, like, bounties were always so fucking annoying to go get. I mean, they did make it where you could, like, clear them in your menu, which is kind of dope, but knowing what you should do and didn't do is kind
completing
of
orders will build you up to receive a legendary order, which provides better rewards, and upon completion has the chance to drop an exotic order for the best rewards. I believe the biggest reward draw was significant amounts of bright dust, if I recall correctly. I think streamlining systems is always a nice thing, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this system is anything revolutionary or game-changing either. A system arriving that I would consider to be more worthy of that reaction, though, is the Universal Exotic Armor Ornament Transmog system, which is basically fancy talk for the fact that any exotic armor piece can now use any exotic armor ornament that you own that resides in that same slot. So as an example, a Celestial Nighthawk helmet can now take on the ornament of any exotic armor helmet ornament that you own. Mask of Fealty ornaments, Blight Ranger ornaments, and so on and so forth. And no, you do not need any currency of any kind to be able to utilize this system. Simply owning the ornaments is all that is necessary. The final core game system that is not coming immediately with the launch of Renegades, but rather a week or two after, is the Vanguard Alerts system, which is, in Bungie's words, the Grandmaster Nightfalls of old. Personally, I have really been feeling the lack of a true endgame feeling activity that inspires me to build craft and concoct strategies to take in with a team of other like-minded players to overcome a challenging activity, and I don't think that I am alone in that regard. Grandmaster Nightfalls have been deeply, deeply missed, and whilst I don't know whether or not Vanguard Alerts will fill that void, I can appreciate that they recognize the problem.
Do they still do Nightfalls though?
And really hope that they hit the nail on the head with the Vanguard Alerts. Now for the unfortunate ugly part, as far as I am aware, and unless Bungie is hiding something up their sleeve that was not shown to us at the capture event, no new strikes and no new subclass. which has honestly become the 1-2 gut punch that Destiny players have come to fear. To be genuine, the burn of no new strikes hasn't felt nearly as harsh in the post-Grandmaster Nightfall era of Destiny since their removal in the Edge of Fate, but with the new Vanguard alert system being a reimagining of them, I am a bit concerned that there won't be any brand new strikes or activities highlighted in said alerts from the get-go. As far as the lack of a new subclass goes, I am nowhere near naive enough to hope for a new one with every, or frankly, even every other expansion at this point. They surely take an unfathomable amount of time to create and design from a gameplay balance, gameplay design, art, and sound perspective. That being said, some new aspects or fragments to significantly mix up the build crafting sandbox would have felt really appreciated, and I hope Bungie puts more eggs into this basket in future updates. Maybe it's not too late to introduce something like that with the Shadow and Order mid-expansion update. I sure hope not. So with all of this in mind, is Renegades worth your $40? Well, I think that depends. My personal formula that I like to use for deciding whether or not I think a piece of media is worth my money is what I like to call the Kung Fu Panda formula. What I mean by that is that you can pick up a copy of KFP for about 15 bucks, give or take, which gives you an hour and a half of what I would say is some pretty high quality entertainment. You can argue with a wall if you disagree. That means that I get about an hour of entertainment for every 10 bucks that I spend with KFP, meaning that
That's funny. I literally use I don't use Kung Fu Panda because it's weird, but I use a $10 per hour ratio.
if I can get 4 hours of high quality entertainment out of Renegades for its $40 price point, then that's fair enough to me. And I would honestly reckon I will get 10 times that amount at a minimum, even without a new subclass or new strikes. To draw a more accurate and serious comparison though, Edge of Fate, which was priced at the same $40, left a lot feeling like they didn't get their money's worth due to the less than desirable campaign experience and lack of post-campaign activities. Despite it shipping with a dungeon as opposed to a raid, I would reckon that the campaign itself, Blaster class weapons, exotic mission, the Lawless Frontier post-campaign activity, Syndicate rank up reward tracks, and a brand new social space is enough to be able to fairly say that Renegades is definitely a better $40 buy than the Edge of Fate was. I know that might not be saying much though, considering the bad reception that the Edge of Fate got, but with many core game issues fixed or in the process of being fixed, one would hope and expect that those improvements will cascade and create more enjoyable experiences, not just with Renegades content, but game-wide. That's not to say that Renegades is the savior of Destiny though, because I'll be completely blunt and honest with you, it's not. Despite significant progress being made and good ideas being implemented, there is still a ways to go to getting back to a truly healthy and flourishing Destiny. And whilst Renegades is certainly contributing to that with various core game systems and improvements like Vanguard alerts, the order systems, vault improvements, and more, there is still more to do that will have to happen in the weeks and months following Renegades. Ultimately though, two things can be true at the same time, in that Destiny feels better to hop into now than it did in the Edge of Fate, but is still going to take some more work and time to make it feel truly great and fresh like once before. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you decide whether or not Renegades was
Definitely gives me a lot to think about when it comes to the game. I don't know. I've been like on the side, like I was like, I'm gonna download it because I already own it, but like, or I own some of the like older stuff. I was like, I'm gonna download it. They're doing a free open access week starting today. I'm not sure if that includes Renegades or not. Probably not, if I had to guess. But at least I'll be able to jump in and see what it's like about a little bit. But I think I've decided to do 2 streams today. So I think what I'm going to do is close this one up, try to get some brain power, and then probably eat something. I know Toka is going to be back here in like probably the next 10 to 15 minutes if I had to guess, based off when they told me they were on their way. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that, and then I'll probably come back either with Toka, or even if it's by myself, I'll be back later today. Probably like, if I had to guess, and this is a guarantee, I'll be back on probably in like 2 hours, maybe a little less, but I'll definitely put something up on Twitter and in the Discord. Alice, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me. It's been a weird morning, or weird midday, but I definitely need to stream more than the couple hours I already did today. So, and I am kind of interested to check out Bungie or Destiny 2. I don't know. I kind of want to do some pew pew, but I think I need to like take a little bit of time, go walk around, grab some food, and then just kind of regroup myself. But yeah, so that's kind of it. I will see you guys later. Alice, again, thanks for hanging out and chilling with me today. I'll see you guys in like maybe an hour or two, but definitely today again. But yeah, until next time, peace.